Hey everyone, I am Jonathan Esposito. I'm a senior business administration major, concentrating in management, and I'm doing an interview today for managerial communication, taught by Dr. Smith. And today I'm interviewing Mr. Zach Crumlich. So I'm going to hand it over to him, and he can give an introduction of himself, and then we'll dive into some questions. So take it away.
Cool. Yeah, like John said, I'm Zach Crumlich. I graduated PC in 2019. I was a biology major with a minor in chemistry and also business administration. I guess once I graduated, I started working for a chemical manufacturer as an outside sales rep. So basically 95% travel on the road. I managed 12 different counties around the Charlotte, North Carolina area. More on the industrial side, selling lubricants, degreasers, an asphalt release agent to different government agencies, so county and local governments. And then COVID hit. And once COVID hit, everything kind of changed to hand sanitizer and EPA registered disinfectants. I started with a new company actually in January, Coroplast Tape Corporation, and I've been here for, I guess, going on, this will be my third full month with Coroplast. My job title is Sales Specialist in Building Construction with the territory of North America. So my duties are to kind of bring in new business and kind of keep growing the business and in the building construction industry.
Very cool. Obviously, you haven't been out of college that long, but it's very clear your diverse skill set. You talked about being a bio major and the fact that you're a business minor. It's cool the way you've tied in some of those things. But that was a great work overview and kind of some of your origin story. But how did you find yourself in the industry of chemical sales and what you're doing now? How did your college career kind of, I guess, push you or direct you to that career choice?
Yeah, so coming into PC, I think almost everyone, when they show up, they have ideas of doing pre-med and going to medical school after. So that's kind of how I came into PC, thinking I was going to medical school, and found out real quick that I didn't want to go to school for 8 more years once I graduated. So, kind of once I started at PC, I really enjoyed the biology department. Enjoyed the classes. I thought it was interesting. Enjoyed all the professors. Enjoyed, the people in my class who were going through all of it. So, I decided to stick with biology. I also was I took plenty of biology courses too. It wouldn't really make a point for me to completely change majors. And I was close to getting my minor in chemistry. I think I had 2 classes left to take, so pretty much said, I'll just do it, and decided to pick up a minor in business. Kind of how I got into it. My dad he owns 2 companies in Columbia, South Carolina, a radio traffic report company. So basically what he does is he's selling advertising on the radio. He supplies the on-air personalities, and in turn he gets to sell the 10 to 15 second advertisements on the end of the report. So I've kind of been around sales my entire life. One of the great things that I still love about sales is kind of the relationships you're able to gain with these customers and clients. So, kind of growing up and seeing that, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the relationship aspect of it. And, being at PC and it's such a small school, you really enjoy those relationships. And it's kind of pushed me into my career. So kind of decided to, just jump in and go into sales. So once I graduated, kind of having the technical chemistry background, I found Hill Manufacturing and had an outside sales opportunity. So, I never really saw myself as being an in-office, 8 to 5 kind of guy behind a desk, making 150 phone calls a day. So being out, being able to be client facing in front of people, it just kind of made sense. So, I was able to travel some, to some very small counties around the Charlotte area, but, mend these relationships with these people. And then actually kind of funny, I was reached out to on LinkedIn from a recruiter for Coroplast actually about a year ago, and the interview went great, and COVID hit, so they weren't hiring, and was kind of told, or the recruiter contacted me back and said that my now manager said, yeah, they really like you, but it's just not a good time, but they promise they'll reach back out to you. And the entire time I'm thinking that, I'm like, yeah, sure, this is just them saying, yeah, we don't want this kid. He's not a good fit for our company. And actually in November of last year, I get an email from my manager now, and she says, hey, you still looking to make a move? We have this position in building construction available for you. Are you open for an interview? I emailed back almost immediately and said, yeah, I can do it. This was on a Wednesday, and she emailed me back and said, how's Friday work? And so I was like, all right, cool. I'll go and interview, and interviewed that Friday, and they offered me that following Monday. And, I think it was really a blessing in disguise. I couldn't imagine, you know, doing this immediately out of school. I enjoyed kind of the self-management. I mean, you learn a lot, especially in your first year after graduating and getting into a position. You learn a lot about yourself. And, basically in my previous position, I saw my manager once every 2 months, and he was basically the only coworker I would see. I think my entire time there, over a year and a half, I met with 3 coworkers. So it's completely self-managed. Lucky for me, I kind of work well that way. But coming into this position, and it was a huge change from what I was doing at Hill with what I'm doing at Coroplast now. But it's very technical, and kind of having the biology and chemistry background kind of helps with that, because you're selling a highly technical product. And I have meetings with, our research and development departments actually in Rock Hill, and then also in Germany. And it's really cool to be able to talk, technical aspects. When I first did my first tape 101 class, I told my manager I felt like I was back in organic chemistry. So it was kind of cool. But I mean, yeah, it's I never would have thought that I'd be selling tape and really enjoy selling tape, or know as much as I do about tape. But yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome, Zach. No, I mean you hit on it, and you mentioned it, talking about like you didn't necessarily expect yourself to be in this position, but sort of the position you had to start out helped you learn some things about yourself. And I think that for all seniors about to graduate, whether we love what we do the first couple of years or whether we struggle with it, I think there's going to be a lot that we figure out about ourselves and what we enjoy, and that's going to help us a lot and propel us in the rest of our career. So that's cool to see that come to fruition with you. So specific to your job, can you tell us a little bit about just what the day-to-day is for you, what that looks like going into the office, and sort of what your work week looks like?
Yeah. So obviously I started kind of in the middle of the pandemic. So, it's difficult to say what it was before, but I've actually get this question a lot. What does a normal day look like in a sales position? And honestly, there's no real good answer, because it's ever evolving. For the most part, on a grand scheme, right now we're at the plant 2 days a week, and then remote 3 days a week. Now that can change if you have to see customers or if there are certain meetings that you have to do. So right now it's a lot of Teams calls. I think I talked about it before, but for example, this morning I woke up and had a meeting at 8:30 a.m. with our R&D department in Germany. So it's a 6-hour time difference, and then hopped off that call and immediately had a call with a sales manager based out of France. So it's kind of a global experience, which I think is very cool. And you kind of really see how different the cultures are between these two. It's amazing just how, for example, how blunt Germans can be compared to, people who are from Rock Hill here. It's really a cool dynamic. And so, yeah, for me, it's those different kinds of meetings with R&D, with marketing, with our different purchasing departments who are, purchasing different materials for our tape or whatever it is. So we're able to do, private labeling, customization. So we're having to talk with different suppliers who are able to supply backings for certain tapes that can be printed on. And also right now, it's still a lot of training. So selling this tape, it's a highly technical product. We're not just selling, for example, just selling duct tape. It's, highly advanced tape with different levels of adhesive, different backings, different liners that do different things. You have certain adhesives that stick to certain substrates better than others. And, I never would imagine me knowing this much about tape. And it's a lot of learning you have to do. But, down the road, it's going to be a lot of fun, especially once COVID's over and we can start traveling again. All the tape that I'm currently selling is still manufactured in Germany. So basically what they've told me is at least twice a year, I'll have to spend at least 2 weeks in Germany, over there, just seeing the manufacturing of the tape, making sure that, once it's coming off the roller, it's exactly what our customer is looking for. Now, most of my customers right now are based out of Canada or the northern part of the US. So, when I first started, they said, there could be an opportunity where on Monday afternoon at 4:00, you have a meeting in Detroit, Michigan, and Tuesday morning you have a meeting in Montreal. So you have to kind of juggle your schedule around that. And you kind of see it now more than you did before, but being self-managed and not really having that traditional office setting, I kind of learned to, work under my own hours. You're not working a traditional 8 to 5. There have been times where, like last week, I had a meeting at 6:30 a.m. and I was up and ready to go, but I could be done at 2:30 or whatever it is. So that's one of the coolest things about sales, is that you never really know what's going to happen, and your day-to-day kind of change. And I think that's one of the coolest things about it. And it doesn't really feel like work when you're getting to do these cool things like travel to Germany or travel to Canada.
No, yeah, absolutely. That sounds too good to be true almost. I know we're all ready for COVID to be over. So
You and me both.
But those are, I think, like 3 cool like identifiers about sales. Just the fact that one, you mentioned the like kind of the continued education aspect of like continually learning about like the product you're selling or the people you're selling to. Second, I guess just like the continued relationships that you're like building, and not just one in, one out. Like those are developing relationships. And then also the fact that kind of every day looks different, and there's not necessarily like a formula of what your day or week's gonna look like. You got to be flexible, and I think you're great at that. So that's awesome.
Exactly. Who wants to work a job where you're going to come in and bust out 150 spreadsheets in a day, and then go back, sit on the couch, and drink a beer? It seems like that that kind of, boring work schedule that you kind of see portrayed in media. And I mean, that's something not for me.
Absolutely, I agree. But that's a very good point. Um, so I guess the next question I have, we sort of just bashed COVID. Now I have to bring it up a little bit. I'm curious. I've asked this to a lot of people, but how has COVID, not necessarily personally, but work-wise, how has that influenced sort of the role of your job?
I mean, I think I touched on it, but I can't travel.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things about, about being in sales and about having such a huge territories. You get to travel and you get to, go out and see customers face to face. I mean, it's completely changed where now you're having to, do it over a Zoom call like this. I mean, I've had so many different calls with clients to where I say, hey, I'd love to meet with you, not face to face, but camera to camera. And it's, that's definitely the biggest change. But I mean, when COVID first hit, I was still with Hill Manufacturing. So I was still in doing chemical sales. So I mean, honestly, for for that, it was great. I mean, especially because everyone needed hand sanitizer, everyone needed EPA registered disinfectants, and at that point, I was making 30% commission off all sales. So, I mean, that was nice. But again, it was I when that changed, I wasn't a customer facing sales representative. It was a lot of time, in front of a computer screen, sending emails on the phone. And that was a huge change for us. And, it was tough, but, yeah, I mean, I'd say that's definitely the most difficult part is, not being able to be customer facing, not being in front of these different customers and really being able to see them and, mend that relationship. It's a whole lot different having to mend relationship over a video call than does, being in front of somebody, shaking their hand and doing a demo right in front of them and having them, hold the tape in their hand or, hold the chemical in their hand at the time. It's difficult, but, I think it's going to be the new normal is doing these Teams calls, doing these video calls and, doing these demos like that. Hold on one second, I'll go shut this door. Yeah, that's also the new normal in this kind of work life. You have these certain distractions of a dog coming and opening a door.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I think that although it's like frustrating and it's just change, I think that whether you're in sales or whether you're in another profession, I think that is making everyone a little bit more adaptable and probably it's giving you a new set of skills and new just ability to work in different situations. And I think it's gonna improve a lot of people's just work abilities. So,
well, and you mentioning that's one of the cool things. We're so easily able to adapt to work from home, and I've really enjoyed being able to have the flexibility to work from home if I have something to do, or if we're wanting to travel somewhere, you're able to take your laptop and work from there. And I could be sitting poolside doing my work. And I mean, I think it's really cool. And it's also nice to think, if you wake up and you're sick or whatever and you're able to just work from home. It's cool balance. And it's something that's completely different that a year ago nobody would have been able to think about, but now we're able to do it. And I think it's for the better. I like being able to work from home some days, and maybe that's because that's all I did in the past.
I think I think you used like a very important word, just like the balance of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like just finding the middle ground where you can do both. That's gonna satisfy the most amount of people. I'll move into kind of the last question I have. I guess I was just gonna say, what advice do you have, given that you have, I guess close to 2 years of like real world work experience, working with people, but I mean overall just working with sales. What advice do you have for students like myself who are about to graduate, or people early on in college who think they want to pursue sales in one form or another, what advice do you have for them to kind of get their feet wet and really have the ability to pursue that further?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple big aspects to it. I mean, one of the most important things is networking. I mean, doing something like this, make as many connections as you can in all different kinds of industries. There's so many different products or services you can go out there and sell. And, just getting your feet wet in the sales industry, you can't go in thinking you're going to have your dream job right out of college. And now more than ever, I mean, you're never really going to see someone stick with a company for their entire career. Back when, I mean, I don't even think our parents really do that, but our grandparents, that was more the, put in your 45 years and retire with the same company. And I mean, it's not the case anymore. So, I mean, it's very important to get that sales experience, and not just sales experience, but people experience. I mean, being in sales, it's all about relationships and all about dealing with people. And, you can never practice your sales techniques more. One thing that I'm currently doing is I'm in a sales training class, and there are 25-year vets who are still taking this class. You don't. One of the things when I first took this class, you're a sales professional, and think about it now with sports. We have baseball season coming up, so we have spring training. These guys are professionals, but you're going and you're doing all the basics. You're, running bases as pitchers, you're doing PFPs, you're doing bullpens, you're doing throwing drills. It's all basic stuff, but you got to train yourself every single year to really be that professional. And, as when you think of a general salesman, you think of probably like a car salesman. He's like, hey, come buy this for XYZ. But I mean, there's just so much more to sales that you wouldn't really even think of. And I mean, really kind of harnessing that ability and that craft is super important. And, just continued learning, try and learn as much as you can. And I mean, network. I mean, I think this is a great example just of how you can network. And especially at PC, it's such a small school, but with such a huge reach. One of the first things I did when I graduated, when we still could, we had the alumni events, and I went to one, and I met a guy, and he goes, congratulations, you graduated and joined the PC mafia. It's, because you got to think about it. All these people, when they see that, you're wearing your PC memorabilia, or, you say you went to PC. I mean, people know what it takes to go to PC and, graduate from PC. So, I mean, it's just that networking, that I think can do so much. And I mean, I would say that, to kind of sum it up, network, continue to learn, and just hone in your craft, and, get that sales experience, because it's gonna be helpful for whatever you do. So, I mean, I would say those are probably the three most important things I would suggest in doing to, kind of get your feet wet in sales. It's fun.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think that's incredible advice. So I think everyone listening can take a lot from that. But that's all the questions I have. So Zach, thank you so much for taking the time and interviewing with me, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, John.